Hi guys, so today we are gonna solve LeetCode 128 longest consecutive sequence. So as we can see, this is a medium level problem. Let's give the problem statement a read. Given an unsorted array of integers num, return the length of longest consecutive elements sequence. You must write an algorithm that runs in big O of n time. Okay, so let's think of a brute force approach for first. Okay, we'll optimize it later on. So if you think about it, what this problem says is that we have an array, array of integers, and as you can see, what we have to do is we have to find the length of the longest consecutive element sequence. Meaning, in this array, if you can see, we have 1 and the next consecutive is 2 and the next consecutive to is 3 and the next consecutive to 3 is 4. So this is how the longest consecutive here in this array we have a 4. The length is 4, so we can see output is 4. And similarly in this array, if you can see, so we have 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, 7, then 8. So from 0 to 8 we have 9 elements in the consecutive sequence, and we also have to make sure that the array might have duplicates, so we also have to deal with that. Okay, so let's go to our whiteboard. Okay, so let's think of a brute force approach first. What we can do is we can iterate through the array. Okay, first what we can do is we can traverse through the array and we can find if our current element has a next consecutive. Let's say if our I is at 100, so the next consecutive to 100 is 101. Okay, so we have to check if the array has this value. Okay, if not, we just skip it, we move on the I. Okay, but first we have to keep a track of the sequence as well, the longest sequence. So currently the sequence is 1, we don't have it, we just move it. Okay, so the max is 1 as of now. Okay, now 4. So we see, we check that if 4 has a next consecutive, then next consecutive to 4 is 5. So we see that we don't have a 5 in our array, so we just skip it and we move it here because max will stay at 1. Okay, so for 200 also, 200 is going to be the same. The next consecutive 201 is not present in the array, so we just move it. Now comes 1. So as soon as I hit 1, then we if we search, the next consecutive is 2 and 2 is already present in the array. So what we can do is we can we have to let's say our current number was 1. Okay, so the next number to 1 is 2. Okay, we check in the array, 2 is present. Okay, so we update, we also have a, let's take a streak variables as well. Okay, so streak is 1 as of now, and as soon as we find 2, we are gonna update the streak is 2. Then we check again, current is 2 and is there a next element to 2, which is 3? Yes, it is present. We are gonna move the current element to 3. Okay, streak, we increase the streak as well. Now we check if the if there is a next element from the current, so the next of 3 is 4, so we check 4 is also present in the array, we update the streak to 4 as well. Okay, after that we check if there is an element next to 4 present in the array. So as we can see, we don't have it, so streak maximum the current streak is this, so we will assign it to max. Okay, and we'll just reset our streak, and then we go to the next. 3 has this 3 has next one, yes, it has 4. Our streak will become 2. Okay, so but as you can see, we already have found the greater streak than this one, so we are not gonna go into that. Then we skip it again, then we go to 2. So 2 has 3, the next to 3 has 4, so streak is gonna be 3. But as you can see, 4 is already larger than streak, so we have our answer 4 here. This we can return. Okay, so this is the brute force approach, and if you see the time complexity that it is taking, is first thing, one more thing is we are gonna have we are gonna use a set, because in Java you cannot check if element is present in the array or not, because you don't have a function. Okay, so we are gonna use a set, and then by using that set we are gonna check if the value is present in the set or not. So let's talk about the time and space complexity, what the time and space complexity is gonna be. So first of all, let's take space. So first what we'll have is we are gonna have one set of n size. Okay, so let's take n as space. So let's just write it here. Okay, so I'm just gonna move it space once. Okay, so as you can see, we are gonna take one set of n size. Okay, so that is gonna take space of n, and yeah, now coming to the time. So first we are going to do n times of iteration to put every element in the set. So for that n, then what we are going to do is we are going to iterate it again, traversing to check the to calculate the longest streak. Okay, so when we do the iteration, okay, so it is going to be n time. Okay, plus we are doing a check of what we are doing is for every ith element. Okay, for every ith element we are gonna check if the next element is present in the set or not. And if you know that set contains the set contains method takes n times complexity. Okay, so for every element we are gonna check in set. Okay, we are gonna check set contains. Set contains is gonna take n time, and then yeah, so first traversal, let's set init, set initialization takes n time, set contains check takes n time, and then we are going to do a while loop to keep iterating it until we are at end of a streak, as we did in fourth case. So that while will take n times in the worst state. So our time complexity is gonna be big O of n cube. Okay, because as you can see we have 3 n's here, and we are using an nested loop, so that's why the time complexity will go n times 3 n time n cube. Okay, so as you can see, this is a brute force approach. It's not a viable approach. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to improve it. The whole idea of that optimal implementation is we are not going to check a streak. We are not going to iterate a streak if we are in the middle or at the end of the sequence. Okay, we are only going to start iterating on only when we are on the first element of that sequence. Okay, by that what I mean is, let's say the longest sequence in this array we know is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so let's just take into account 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if we go to 4, okay, so if we go to 4, we see that there is a previous consecutive exist. Okay, so definitely this is not the start. Okay, because an element exists which is just the previous consecutive of 3. Okay, so 3 exists, so we are not going to start at 4. We go to 3, we check if 3 has a previous consecutive. Yes, it's true, so we are not going to start iterating on 3. 2 also has a previous consecutive 1. We are not going to start on 2 as well. Now coming to 1, it doesn't have a previous consecutive. So if it doesn't have a previous consecutive, then only we are going to start the iteration. So that will save looking up n times for every variable. Okay, so for every element at most we are going to do n times calculation, like only if there's a start of sequence. So let's say if using the previous method, if we were at 1, then also we are going to go over 2, 3 and 4. If we are at 2, then again 3, we are calculating 3 again, then 4 again. Okay, so that makes the whole implementation n square times. Okay, if you exclude the set n checkup. So so the basically what we're going to do is we are going to only start checking if we are at the beginning of a sequence. Okay, now putting that into the algorithm, how will that work is we are on 100. Okay, so we check if there is a previous the previous consecutive exists. No. Okay, so this is actually start of a sequence. Okay, so if this is our okay, so this is our start of a sequence, so we check if it has a next consecutive. No, it doesn't have. So the streak is the streak length is 1. Okay, and the max is also 1 at this point of time. We go to 4. We check if there is a previous consecutive of 4. Yes, there is. So we are gonna completely skip 4. We don't have to do anything with it. Then we go to 200. We check if this has a previous consecutive. 199 doesn't exist. It means that this is also a start of a sequence, but it doesn't have a next consecutive as well. So the current streak stays the same, the max streak stays the same. Okay, now we are going to 1, and in case of 1, it doesn't have a previous consecutive, which is 0. Okay, then what we do, we start calculating from here. Does this have a next consecutive, which is 2? Yes. So the streak will become 2, the streak length. We go to then iterating it. This from 2, does it the 2 have a next consecutive? Yes, 3 is present. The streak length will be 3. Then we check if 3 has a next consecutive. 4, yes, it's true, streak length will become 4. Okay, now we check if 4 has a next consecutive. 5, no, it doesn't have. Okay, so 5 doesn't have a so 5 doesn't is not present in the array, so our streak is 4. Then our max will become 4. The max length is going to become 4. And then as soon as we move to 3, we are gonna see that this has a previous consecutive 2. We are gonna completely skip it. This also has a previous consecutive of 1. Okay, so we are gonna skip it. So this is how we brought down our entire n cube approach into a n square. If you calculate the sets check contain method as well. Okay, so it's n square, but if you think about the traversal, that's only big O of n time. Okay, so now to implement it, this is our code. Okay, so this is how it looks. What we did is, if the n is less than 2, we are just going to simply return n. We create a new set. We traverse the array to put the items into the set. We set a max streak equals to 1. Okay, and for every element, for every number in set, we check if set doesn't have a previous consecutive. If it doesn't have, then only we continue. Okay, otherwise we just simply skip it. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to set the current streak as 1, and while set dot contains num plus plus means we are just checking for the next consecutive. Okay, so as soon as if it has a next consecutive, the streak is gonna we are gonna increment the streak every time, and as soon as we hit the last element in the of the consecutive elements, okay, so then we just assign the max. Okay, now if we submit this, okay, so as you can see, the runtime is pretty much decent. So this is how we solve LeetCode longest consecutive sequence.